On Metro TV. It's a Thursday, the 27th day of September 2018. By His grace, we're live and we're here with yet another edition of the show. Our gratitude will go to the Most High God for this rare privilege and, of course, the opportunity to have another conversation around the top stories making rounds here in our dear Republic. He's back, he's back, he's back. I'll let you into our panel for the morning's conversation shortly, but let's take a look at the front pages of our newspapers. Daily Graphic. China-Africa relations, it's not colonialism. President tells UN General Assembly. Okay. I'm sure the first question people will ask is, should he be the one telling us that? Anyway. Obi named 2 others fined 12,000 Ghana cedis for flogging. Health Ministry increases prices of NHI medicines. That should help. Melania Trump visits Ghana next week. Local banks will bounce back. Asiedu Mante. Ghanaian Times. At the UN General Assembly, aid, charity not working for us. President raps global leaders. Cocoa Board to cut down 700,000 hectares of diseased cocoa trees. Please grant Collins Dowda bail. Government trains 191 mining guards. Abrogate Star Times China deal. Giba to Ministry of Communications. Daily Post. Day 1 of Central Region Tour. NDC delegates give Mahama rousing welcome as he calls for party unity, clean campaign and pledges to ensure resources reach grassroots for victory in 2020. Flood victims Baumia poisoned, develop running stomachs as he refuses to apologize. The New Crusading Guide. We're not interested in becoming burden on others. President. Togo opposition leader on hunger strike. Pickets at Ghana High Commission. That is strategy, this still work. Okay. Foreign Minister holds talks with Premier of St. George. Elias Ajete relinquishes Teshiman Kralo position. Okay. It's relinquish, not relinquish. Anyway, the insight. Petrol increase. TUC wants government to halt it and tackle economic hardship. Kufuor laments. Workers of savings and loans companies to go home. Daily Heritage. Western Chiefs bend tires over bad roads and broken promises. Wood World Mission cuts salt for 1.5 million Ghana cedis vocational and technical school complex in Koforidua. MCE defies court order, carries out demolition of shops at La Paz. Obinim convicted after pleading guilty, fined 4,800 cedis. 2 others get 3,600 cedis each. Okay, and the Daily Heritage has done the right thing. Says your authoritative newspaper in its Monday, September 24, 2018 edition mistakenly published DDT in its banner headline instead of DTT. We sincerely apologize for the typographical error. The Daily Statesman. Reform to meet present needs. President Kufuor charges UN, US to fight China with $60 billion agency. Mansum Kwanta shooting incident. Committee submits reports. The Daily Searchlight. Probe into $100 million copter deal. 19 persons under investigations. Upper West Nadmo stores manager suspended. God is tired as Mahama places defeat at his door. The New Independent. Trouble brews at Ebura Dunkwa. Spiritualists arrested over killings. Chiefs urge police to arrest accomplices. Mother, 2 children burnt to death. Ejaku didn't spray cash on NPP chair. Fallout from the boss Springfield Bruhaha. Why crucify Springfield Energy when there's no wrongdoing? God caused my defeat. Mahama declares and says he wants NDC to come back. Business Finder. President justifies huge China loans for projects. Says new ways needed as existing methods are not working. Business and Financial Times. Our museums are a national disgrace. Government considers single product industrial enclaves. Savings and loans firms are next, according to the Bank of Ghana. Cocoa Board, confident of 1 million metric tons. To our online portals. MetroTVOnline.com. $2 billion Sino-Hydro deal, not loan agreement, IMF. Okay, so that should settle it, right? Baumia must resign over poor economy, Nyauta Macron. MyJoyOnline.com. Saglemi Project. Deputy Housing Minister's claims false. Ahi. $11 million Elmina fish processing plant now produces only ice block. citynewsroom.com. Group Indom seeks investors' support to pay off clients. Zenith Bank gets global data security certification. Congratulations. GhanaWeb.com. New hospital officially opens in Greater Accra region. Melania Trump to visit Ghana, Malawi, Kenya, and Egypt. BBC.com. ABC chair resigns of Australian political interference claims. Skripal suspect was made hero of Russia by President Putin. CNN.com. Trump says China is interfering in midterm elections. US B-52s fly near contested islands and China tensions. Okay, B-52s, right? All right. Okay, recently, somebody around the Petroleum Commission had a case of B-52s. Anyway, we'll be back shortly. Right, hello, good morning, and welcome back to the show. If you just joined us, this is Good Morning Ghana live on Metro TV, and with me on the show this morning, I have the Honorable Member of Parliament for the Mion constituency, Hon Aziz Mohammed. Good morning.
Good morning, Randy.
How are you?
I'm good.
Right. Okay, he's back. In the past, he never took a holiday at all. Not even Sundays. And then he got married. And after getting married, he started taking 2-week holidays in a year. And the kids started coming. And the holidays became 1 month per year. And he also started aging. And the holidays have now become 2 months in a year. And I guess it's the best strategy to always take a rest, reinvigorate, spend time for your children, and make sure that age is always on your side. So after his 2 months leave, the new way of reinvigorating and rejuvenating himself, he's back. Abdul Malik Kwekubaku is still the editor-in-chief at large of the New Crusading Guide newspaper. Ojam, welcome.
Thank you, my brother. Dr. Abi.
Not yet. How are you?
My brother, surviving.
How's the vacation?
Well, it was good. It was a healing process, both physically, spiritually, and everything else. It's a marathon that we are involved in. So
yes.
I thought it was fair deal to make it 2 months this time around.
And it was fair to the family too.
Yes. You get closer to the kids, you know, and then you get to know, you perhaps don't know them very well. And that's something that was missing. You know. So I'm trying to...
10 years ago, did you ever think you'd be speaking like this?
No.
Okay.
I didn't even think I would marry.
Okay.
You know, I had that silly philosophy
yes.
of not getting,
yes.
you know, burdened by any other person.
Okay.
Now I have she who must be obeyed. She talks and, my goodness, I can't believe it.
Okay.
I can't believe it, but it's I think comparatively, looking at my past lifestyle and this time run, I vote for this one.
You're better off.
Yes.
Because you look better, you live a much better life.
Sure.
You know?
A little bit more disciplined than I used to be.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm entirely disciplined.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Sometimes it's just a little you need.
Yeah.
Not too drastic, just a little.
I hear you.
To clip a few wings and all that.
Get you going.
You are yet?
I said to get him going.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
okay. But you are married, right?
Oh, yeah, I am Randy.
Okay.
I am.
Okay.
I am.
You don't look it.
Oh, I am.
Okay.
I am.
Thank
For
God.
some 10 years now.
10 years?
Yeah.
Oh, well
10
done.
years,
Well
yeah.
done. Hope you're enjoying it.
Yes, I am. Trust me.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. How is Mion?
Randy, Mion is good.
Quite a popular constituency, huh?
Yeah, Mion is one of the popular constituencies in the northern region. You know, it lies between Tamale South and Yendi.
Oh.
Haruna's constituency and Yendi. That is where most part of the constituency is located. It's a very interesting constituency. You may have to come around sometime.
I will.
Yeah.
I haven't been up north in about, wow, it's been long.
Wow.
It's been long. Yeah, in about 6 years.
Oh, Randy, you have to come around.
I will have
Let's
to.
find some
I'll have
weekend.
to.
Find some weekend.
Yes, I'd have to. I'd have to. I'd have to. I'd have
You're
to.
most welcome.
It used to be our seat, the PCP. Is that not the place?
Well,
Alabila also was.
CPP.
Yes, in
won
the
the seat in
1996. Yeah.
Under the Great Alliance.
Yes.
You know, the MPP did not fill the candidate in 96 because of the Great Alliance.
Sure.
And
So they beat
Alabila
the-
Ibrahim.
they beat the
also.
NDC to it.
yes, yes.
And then after, who was there? Who won? NDC won in 2000.
In 2000 up to date.
Okay.
That was the only time that the seat went to another party. It's traditionally an NDC seat.
Traditionally a CPP seat.
Yeah,
Historically.
Historically.
like-
I'm sure he's
Historically.
talking Fourth Republic.
Yes,
I hear you. I understand what you say.
Yes.
But it's always been a CPP, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Even the Yendi seats,
No, you've always
they are traditionally
said.
strong
You've always
CPP.
said that.
But
You've always said
you
that.
understand
You've always said that most of the NDC seats are actually CPP.
That's true.
Yeah.
And if
prior to the
by
Fourth
today's
Republic.
balance of forces,
Yeah.
if we were to do what we did, the Great Alliance project, CPP will gain more seats in parliament.
But do you still exist?
Oh, they do exist. They do. I'm not very active, as you know, even though before I exited, I took a membership card, platinum. I'm also I've committed myself to help the youth wing to grow. So I'm giving
the
them,
party?
yes,
Okay.
I'm giving them logistics and also some support. I've adopted some constituencies in the northern region that I'm also committed to.
I'm not sure Myon
That's
is
what
part-
I can
I'm
do.
not sure Myon is part of it.
We're coming there.
Oh,
Yeah, so I've decided to do a little bit more commitment and support for the party without getting into the front line.
Front line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
in your absence, you were still monitoring media. I know that for a fact.
Sure.
What were some of the issues that whilst you were away, caught your attention and that you were either uncomfortable with or thought that those issues were not being put in the right perspective or in the right context?
Well, I wouldn't want to make a judgment call, but issues that became of huge public interest, and so for that matter attracted one's attention. The main one was the banking crisis.
Crisis.
I was here when it began, though,
Yes.
but it escalated to the situation where banks were dissolved and consolidated and things. That was dramatic, you know, and huge. And Randy, I'll be honest with you, initially, whilst I was here, I had opportunity to discuss that subject matter 2 or 3 times on Newsflight, and I believe even here,
Yeah.
you know. And I was always very cautious, you know, in terms of what to say, how to say it. And I wanted a situation where the local banks would be rescued, repackaged, and allowed to grow. And for that matter, it means I was looking at them in terms of them standing on their own. And then, of course, too, there was that capitalization a bit that came in, and I thought it was too huge, or if it was too big, they could spread the time. But I have to be honest with you. Subsequently, when some of the details came out as to how severe the matter was, some corporate governance issues and other matters, Randy, I modified my stance slightly. I thought that a lot had gone wrong internally with the banks themselves, their institutional, structures, their ethical behavior and things. And so something had to give. To that extent, I began to revise my overly critical stance relative to the Bank of Ghana and the Ministry of Finance. I think something had to be done. If they had allowed the banks on their own to continue the way they were going and then to collapse, I think the effect, the impact would have been severe and massive, especially depositors' interest. But going forward, I can also see the difficulty with relative to workers, the workers' status. Many of them appear to be losing their jobs, because there was earlier indication as if, no such thing may occur
In fact,
job
that's,
security.
That's what the Bank of Ghana said.
Yes, so again, communication also from those who were driving the process sometimes was not entirely factual or truthful. I'm trying to look for a word that would not be too critical.
Yeah.
But that for me was the main thing, you know. Apart from that, everything
So
else
just
was,
stay on there.
Sure.
Whilst you speak about the banking crisis, yesterday, you know, in all those discussions, I kept making the point that, look, we are dealing with the universal banks. We're dealing with the universal banks. The information we're picking up from the low-tier financial institutions, so from the savings and loans to microfinance and those things, are terrible. The kinds of things that we're hearing are terrible. I know that the Bank of Ghana doesn't have the capacity to tackle everything at a go. But whilst we are at the universal banks, a lot is happening down there. Then yesterday, the papers picked it up. I think it was at the last MPC, where the Bank of Ghana now is speaking about the savings and loans companies. And yesterday I gave some statistics that you're having about 750,000 depositors, funds that are threatened. And you're looking at about 800 million Ghana cedis involved in it. And if you look at the front page of the Business and Financial Times, say savings and loans firms are next, Bank of Ghana. And my kid brother, Richard Anekweabe, has filed his report. And he says a few savings and loans firms have shown signs of insolvency and will have to be liquidated, just as has happened with the banks. Central Bank Governor Dr. Hon Aziz has said, addressing a press conference after the Monetary Policy Committee meeting in Accra Monday. Dr. Aziz said, we are discussing with the Ministry of Finance the measures which need to be taken to stabilize that segment of the market. He went on to say that the measures for stabilizing the savings and loan segment of the financial market are no different from the measures that have been taken with regard to the banks, adding that if these savings and loans companies are insolvent, they will have to be liquidated. That is the solution for insolvent financial institutions. The deposits of these institutions, he said, are not insured. For which reason there has to be a cost associated to dealing with them, with implications on the budget. This is where we are in the discussions. What sort of intervention to make in that segment of the market? Who will pay for the cost of resolution in that sector? Once we reach a conclusion, the necessary thing will be done. Already, the failure of the 7 banks is costing the taxpayer well in excess of 8 billion Ghana cedis, which could actually go up since the cleanup exercise is not over. And according to the central bank, there are currently 37 licensed savings and loans companies operating across the country. Now, so this is the second level. And yesterday, I gave the stats with respect to this particular issue. And let me just see if I can quickly get it again. I mean, that will let us all then, okay. So we're dealing with 705,000 depositors. 705,000. And they stand to lose, if nothing happens, 740 million Ghana cedis. That's respect to their deposits. And here we are talking about savings and loans. We've not come to microfinance.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, you know, when it comes to the...
let me just add this.
Sure.
And the savings and loans companies had also written, they have an association, an umbrella body. They had written and they were asking for a bailout and they were complaining about panic withdrawals as the basis for the problems that they're having. And that in view of what is happening with the universal banks, a lot of people are rushing to these savings and loans companies, ostensibly to withdraw all their monies. And they make the point that when there's panic withdrawal, there's no financial institution that can actually meet those things. No. And so they are suffering that. Yesterday, Dr. Papa Kwesindo also put out a statement, I think on his Facebook wall, that he was out of the country, that it looks like there are some difficulties with the bank. Some depositors are going to his bank, they have difficulties accessing their monies. And he makes the point that, look, His bank is solid. Nobody will lose their money. They have done this thing for 25 years. Everything is okay. But he makes the point that no bank in the world will be able to stand it. If all customers were to go to the bank today and say that, give us our money. But it looks like, in view of what has happened, if the bank is a local bank, people are skeptical. They want to go and take their money. The savings and loans people say that they are also suffering that. The danger, however, is that it then becomes a cover for even those who have not done the right things and are actually insolvent.
Very, very delicate, tricky, and potentially explosive situation, Randy. And here I claim no competence in terms of the technical and professional understanding of this issue. So I'll just be skirting around it, you know. Nobody should take what I say as a gospel truth coming from somebody who knows the job. I don't really understand the details. But you see, Randy, the panic, what did you say, panic withdrawals?
Yes.
I don't think that it's important, it's a serious matter, but for me it's a fallout of the real situation, you know. Look, if I have to be honest, I think regulatory failure, running into decades, should be the basis for this matter. I see a situation where, and I'm not going to personalize, I'm not going to talk about personalities, but I'm going to look at the institutions that we had put in place based on a legal regime to supervise all these sectors of our financial industry, and ask whether indeed the appropriate diligence and vigilance had been exhibited over the years, Randy. We registered these companies, these entities. They are registered. There's a law that guides their conduct. So you register in accordance with the law, okay? There are things you should do and not do. There must also, in my view, and I believe it's there, monitoring and evaluation, supervision of all these entities. So I've been asking myself, what has happened over the last few years? Say 10 years, but 10 years to now, what has been happening? What the Bank of Ghana is seeking to do ought to have been a very routine exercise, way back. Routine, regular. That is the only way you can prevent some of these things. But it looks as if that being a certain culture or a subculture of inertia, you know, like everything was taken for granted. So the problem has grown and has become almost entrenched. And when it becomes that way, you want to cure the mischief, it becomes very difficult and challenging. And then all this panic reaction comes in, and which also adds to the problem further. So to be honest with you, I see similarities. They may not be the same in terms of exactitude, but I see similarities with the same thing that happened with the banks, as you call them in investor banks, in terms of the trajectory. Yeah. So I would vote for what the Bank of Ghana is doing now. To be honest, of course, in so doing, they also have to be very careful so that they are genuine. Maybe there are entities that are genuine, entities that are having serious, genuine challenges which are curable with some bailout policies here and there. Fine, you can do that. But generally, I think we should take a massive look at all these entities.
After all this, one of the things that have come up, which I think is not come on the front burner, is that apart from all these bailouts with the universal banks, and we're told that we are not done there yet. Now we are looking at the next year, which is the savings and loans. Yeah. We might have to get to the microfinance, which is even the one that are more grassroots based.
I hear you.
And are everywhere.
I hear you.
At the MPC, it turned out that the issue of non-performing loans, the quantum is even increased. And now we've reached a record high of close to 9 billion. Never in the history of this country. At that same meeting, the Bank of Ghana has announced that it is writing off 1.2 billion of these non-performing loans.
We've been doing that for years. this is not the first time I'm hearing loans being written off,
Yes.
non-performing loans.
Yes.
In fact, we formed an organization.
NPAT,
Yes, exactly.
Non-Performing Assets Recovery
Yes,
Trust.
yes, over some years ago, you know, and we're still doing it. Rather, there's something basically wrong with how we manage our affairs. There's something basically wrong because it's now that we've come to the head, it's looking big, but some of these problems have been going on for years and they are tackled in small manners, and then we forget. After we've tackled one challenge, then we leave it alone and we all go to bed. And this time around, it appears that they've all aggregated into almost a crisis. You know, so I would go with the Bank of Ghana for what they are doing. You know, they should screen. As a city, I don't have any technical solution, as I don't have the competence for it. But it's obvious there's a big problem out there. Many of those entities have been allowed to operate for years, perhaps not in accordance with the legal regime that guides their conduct, and so many unethical behavior. We sorry to say this because nobody should get me wrong. Sometimes our own, you know, cultural tidbits, you know, my friend, my uncle, my this, all are allowed to come on board in such serious institutional issues. So to be honest with you, I'm for Bank of Ghana. I haven't studied this matter, but that is the feeling I'm getting. And I'm using the experience we had with the banks and how the issues came up to see how we should go forward. As we are saying, when it gets to the micro level, many more people will be affected. But really look at the monies that we are writing off and the monies that we are using to rebuild these banks. Can you imagine? They run into their billions. And yet we complain that we can't finance some national projects. So to be honest with you, I'm now with the Bank of Ghana in terms of activating its regulatory authority and ensure the right thing is done. Yeah. In fact, insurance area, we should look at the insurance area as well.
Yes.
I'm told there's something brewing.
Yesterday, Dr. Koboy raised an issue where he said the insurance commissioner came before them, and that it looks like, you know, in this country where systems don't talk, regulatory agencies also don't talk amongst themselves.
Yes.
They are islands.
Amazing.
By themselves, nobody speaks. And it looks like the players then take advantage of that and do a lot of things. So he says that you have a certain strong linkage between some of these insurance companies and what they claim are investments with some of these banking institutions, and some of the banking institutions that have gone bust. And so that's another
interesting point.
Yes, that's another explosion waiting to happen, blow in our faces. Yeah.
Well, Randy, this is a very worrying situation. In fact, if our economy is not in crisis, with certainty one can say that the banking sector is in crisis, and we will need to do everything possible to rescue the industry. Not just the issue of the depositors' deposits. You are talking about some 740 million Ghana cedis, I guess. I mean, that's a very huge sum of money. Yeah. We must do everything possible to safeguard the investments and deposits of the public. In fact, at the bottom of all this conversation is the confidence in the banking sector. Already, the banking attitude culture in Ghana is very low. Whilst we are working at surging up the confidence of the public in the banking sector, this is not a good story. I mean, the confidence in the banking sector would dwindle the more. It would definitely also affect the economy, because the economy would rely heavily on the banking sector to be able to thrive. And so we must be worried what the impact could be on the entire national economy. You remember the Minister for Finance had indicated that they will raise some bonds to the tune of 5.7 billion Ghana cedis to be able to deal with these issues. I'm sure the country would be committing not less than 10 million Ghana cedis just to be able to deal with the 7 banks that went bad. And those monies would obviously be paid by the ordinary Ghanaian.
Sure.
I mean, my worry is that while these banks were posting all the profits and paying dividends to their shareholders, the director receiving their allowances and what have you, no Ghanaian ever participated in that. And today, the ordinary Ghanaian in my village, you know, a poor farmer in Joblaju in my constituency, would be asked to service a bond that will be used to right the wrongs. And one thing that is also linked to this is the layoffs that goes with it. I mean, we're already dealing with a very huge unemployment situation in this country. It is estimated that about 3,000 workers would lose their jobs. These are workers with families. And this 3,000 is just the direct job losses. There are connected job losses that we cannot be able to estimate immediately. But obviously, there are people who provide some ancillary services to these bank workers. They have families. And so the problem seems to be more than what we are looking at it from. But Randy, in all these things, the Bank of Ghana cannot absolve themselves from blame, especially the banking supervisory department of Bank of Ghana. I mean, you ask yourself what they've been doing all along, if they have actually been monitoring the books of these banks, and even the auditors that audit these banks, because at the end of every year, auditors are supposed to go and audit these accounts and report. So what has been the role of these auditors in auditing the banks? With the issue of the non-performing loans, it is largely because of intergroup lending. Because these banks, especially those that have gone down, seem to have been part of some groups, you know. And so there's a lot of intergroup lending at very low interest rates, and in most cases, not even repaid. And so those non-performing loans are not what the ordinary Ghanaian goes for at the banks. It's largely attributed to the intergroup lending of businesses that are connected to this bank. What the Bank of Ghana should do now should not be an ad hoc approach and attitude. They must have a holistic approach to dealing with this issue. Randy, you are now talking about the savings and loans tier. Yes. That is the middle tier. If we were to come back to the microfinances, that is at the very bottom, like you indicated, I'm sure a lot of Ghanaians would be affected. And so we should have a holistic approach to clean the financial sector of this country. The issue of the insurance companies has to come up. What is the National Insurance Commission doing about it? These two supervisory institutions, the Bank of Ghana and the National the Insurance Commission, must have a holistic approach, and they must be able to carry all of us along. Let us know. It is not just a matter of today, GN Bank is in crisis, then you come up with an issue to deal with it, how to know. There must be a well thought out, holistic approach, and Ghanaians must be informed. We must be in sync with what the Bank of Ghana and the Ministry of Finance wants to do, because we have every duty and responsibility not just to save depositors' deposits, but also to restore confidence within the banking industry so that it can support the national economy effectively. That is very, very important.
Okay, whilst we're at it, and we're talking about the banking sector and regulatory agencies and all that, one issue that has been brewing has been the men's gold issue. And you can, look at it from this point of regulatory agencies and they're not talking to each other. Like we're now identifying with the insurance sector and then the banking sector as well, where you have a National Insurance Commission, you have a Bank of Ghana, but it looks like they are separate islands and they mind their own business. Yeah. They do not talk to each other. You had a system with this men's gold thing where the Bank of Ghana thought that it had jurisdiction over the matter. It went in, the company said, hey, you have no jurisdiction, don't come here. SEC came in. They say you have no jurisdiction. It is our Minerals Commission. And then we got to Minerals Commission, we realized that what Minerals Commission licensed them to do is not what they were actually engaged in. Because the Minerals Commission said, look, you are licensed to buy gold from small-scale miners and export same. Now, what was actually happening was not that in terms of people investing in it and all that. So, and their claim was that there was a gray area. You know, now all these three regulatory agencies then had to sit at a meeting. And then it was at that meeting that they said, look, you, Minerals Commission, you have given them a license. And it is your license they are abusing. So go and deal with it. Well, they were waiting, they weren't getting anything. Security and Exchange Commission said, no, let us do our own stuff. So let's go there, do some blind trading and all that on 3 occasions to find out what exactly this business is about. And then they concluded that, look, this business, based on what we found out, conforms to a business which is regulated by us. And so on that basis, hey, stop work. And don't do any new things. Those who you've taken their stuff already, continue doing business with them. But don't do any new thing until we resolve the issue. So you've had Bank of Ghana, you've had Security and Exchange Commission, you have Minerals Commission, these 3. And things had to get to a head for the 3 of them to sit together and speak. Now, yesterday, I curiously saw a statement issued by Men's Gold. You know, I was looking at something somebody sent me about a Ponzi pyramid. Yeah. And I was just looking at it. I'll show it to our viewers pretty shortly. But I saw this statement, and we'll put a statement out for you to read. And significantly focus on paragraphs 3 and 4. Now, I'll just read it. It's dated 25th of September 2018, media release, notice to suspend trading without license. And it says, okay, so that's what's on your screen. It says, on an interview on Joy News TV earlier this evening, Deputy Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Paula Bebio, indicated that they hadn't stopped Men's Gold Ghana from paying matured extra values to customers, and that the directive was to desist from establishing new contracts, which is correct. That's what they said. Now listen, it says, we find this position rather surprising, as it shows a clear dearth in the SEC's understanding of our gold vault market product. They are the only people who understand what they do. Yeah. And raises the question of the basis upon which they decided to shut it down. Now, listen to this carefully. It says, the gold collectibles offered for trade by patrons of our gold vault market product are subjected to our quality controls and traded for profit, which is shared as extra value with the product owner or trader. Significant again. Any act, order, or instruction therefore designed or decreed to forbid Men's Gold from trading makes it impossible to generate any revenue whatsoever, out of which extra values are charged and paid to those entitled. I'll go back to these 2 paragraphs again, and we'll relate that to paragraph 1, and you'll get it. It says, the gold collectibles offered for trade by patrons of our gold vault market product are subjected to our quality controls and traded for profit, which is shared as extra value with the product owner or trader. Any act, order, or instruction, therefore, designed or decreed to forbid Men's Gold from trading makes it impossible to generate any revenue whatsoever, out of which extra values are charged and paid to those entitled. Now, come to the paragraph 1. It says that Paula Bebio indicated that they hadn't stopped Men's Gold Ghana from paying matured extra values to customers, and that the directive was to desist from establishing new contracts. Yeah. So what it means is that you're not stopped from trading in the existing ones.
Yes.
What you stopped from is getting new ones to come on board. Yeah. But this is what they say. They say any act, order, or instruction therefore designed or decreed to forbid Men's Gold from trading makes it impossible to generate any revenue whatsoever, out of which extra values are charged and paid to those entitled. Yeah. The ones that exist already, you are not forbidden from trading.
You are supposed to pay them their much.
No, you are not forbidden from trading in those ones and making profit thereof. You are forbidden from trading in new ones. But you make the point that once you are stopped from trading in the new ones, you will be unable.
Well, I don't understand this subject. That was one of the issues that attracted my attention.
Okay. So then they go on to say, thought-provoking as these ambiguities on the part of SEC may be, Men's Gold Ghana is still committed to ensuring that business operations return to normalcy as soon as possible, as the firm is deeply saddened by the social and economic inconveniences this decision and directive of the SEC has caused our customers and the organization. Men's Gold Ghana assures all customers and patrons that all gold trades are safe. The leadership of the firm will continue to engage with the relevant bodies to expedite the reimbursement of all entitlements.
I'm not assured, especially the area that you highlighted. It's like a hint that the thing is going bankrupt, that they may not be able to fulfill the, relationship, the terms of the business transaction.
Because the directive is simple. It says don't do any new business.
Yes.
But as for those who are already doing business with you,
make good your commitment.
Make good your commitment.
Yeah, but I think that if the portion you highlight tells me there's something very
with that new business, I can't give you anything.
I disagree with them.
They are being truthful.
No. Truthful? So where are all the goals and the businesses they've been doing?
Read between the lines.
That's exactly the point I'm making.
Right.
It's like a preemptive thing. They are telling you, you see, and that will also lead to the panic thing. It appears the thing is not well structured. I'm sorry, I don't understand these things, so maybe it's unfair for me to sit here and make a judgment call. But it doesn't assure me at all. If I were a customer, I give up. Something is basically wrong there, Randy. They are admitting that they cannot fulfill the terms of the transactions they've been having with people.
To the extent that you are not allowing them to do new business.
But that is it's illogical. The old business you've been doing, what happened to the dividends, the profits, and everything?
Because this is what you say in their own statement, paragraph 3. Says the gold collectibles offered for trade by patrons of our gold vault market products are subjected to our quality controls and traded for profit, which is shared as extra value with the product owner or trader.
Yes.
So I have already done the investment. You are telling me that you trade mine for profit and you share with me. Then you go on to tell me that any act, order, or instruction, therefore designed or decreed to forbid men's gold from trading, makes it impossible to generate any revenue whatsoever out of which extra values are charged and paid to those entitled. Meanwhile, I fall in the category of those where SEC says you can continue dealing with me.
It's an attempt to allocate blame on the regulators when they are unable to fulfill the terms of their business transactions, which I can see happening sooner than later. So they have prepared people's mind. This is psychological preparation of their clients' minds, that we didn't cause the mess. The mess has been caused by the regulator. But it's a feeble one, an unacceptable excuse.
Okay, you know what?
Randy,
yes.
Even before the banking sector crisis, I had actually suspected something nasty with the operations of Men's Gold, because one could not tell what they were into. They were virtually running either a microfinance or a banking system, and you asked if they were licensed to do so. I had a personal experience where a friend of mine came to me and wanted to go do some deposits. I said, look, whatever is too good to be good cannot be good. There's no any investment you can do in this country today that can pay you 10% interest every month. It's not possible.
It's unrealistic.
It is not possible. And so for them to be paying 10% interest every month, and people were rushing there to basically do investments in cash and sit down and take their 10% every month. And I can assure you that if you were to go through their books, you would see very prominent Ghanaians just invest money there and sit back and take their 10% every month.
Last week we were told that there were people who were taking loans at the banks at 30 to 40%.
Exactly.
And putting in there for 120%.
Yes.
Putting it in men's
Yes, for 120%.
Wow.
We're told that there are institutions, some financial institutions, some insurance institutions, some churches, some... Look,
are you sure about this?
Ojam,
has it been made public? Is there...
No, Ojam, I am telling you, maybe because you're on vacation, but you scan social media.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
What is involved in this particular thing? And I always made a point that the regulated ones, even the banking, the one that we're talking about, at every point in time, the regulators are able to access, one, the number of depositors, how much of depositors cash. Like when we're looking at the savings and loans, the statistics are available to the Bank of Ghana.
That's right.
They have given it to us.
That's right.
That there are 705,000 depositors involved. There's some 740 million Ghana cedis involved. As we speak today, which of the regulators, as for Bank of Ghana, they've told them that they should go and mind their business. SEC or Minerals Commission, which of them can be able to tell us the number of customers, the value of gold involved?
It's serious, huh?
So if you pay, like Randy is saying, if you are paying 10% a month, that amounts to 120% a year. And so you can go and borrow from the regular banking sector
40%.
Maximum 40%.
Yes.
Go invest there, make your 120
without doing anything.
Without doing anything. Pay back the loan
80%
and make your profit.
a year.
There is no any trading company.
There's a
country.
business like that. The banks themselves will go and put their money there.
It is interesting.
See, so what is stopping? Why is the state neutralized in terms of taking action? Is there no law in this country?
Maybe it's the fear of you know we started gradually.
Yeah.
We are dealing with the universal banks. We are now at around 8 billion.
8 billion.
We're coming to look at savings and loans. We are getting close to 1 billion. This is just on the face of it.
That's right.
When we get inside, we might find out that the story is a bit different. We've not got into microfinance. Now there's the threat of men's gold. There's a threat.
We're looking too impotent. as a nation, as a state, we're impotent.
So you keep asking, the question that we keep asking is, per what has been done with the universal banks, is that a template that the state has set up? That look, anytime something goes bust, we'll go and float bonds and come and sort you out.
And the cost.
We'll go and float bonds and come and sort you out. Because I keep making the point. The Sino-Hydro thing that we are all haggling about and fighting, is it a loan, is not a loan, is this, is that, is that. We're talking about $2 billion.
$2 billion.
On this, universal banks alone, we're saying we've done 8 billion. We are saying that
about 10 billion.
Yes, we're saying that we're writing off 1.2 billion.
Yeah.
So the Sino-Hydro thing that we are making noise about.
That's why it's making us look like a joke.
Okay.
Interestingly, Randy, let me just chip in this. For 2017, for instance, all that government needed was 1.2 billion Ghana cedis to be able to deal with the 1 million one constituency issue.
Yeah.
Government could not raise that money, and so that project suffered. 1.2 billion Ghana cedis, and yet we are committing about 8 billion Ghana cedis.
But that's what we have written off.
That's
a non-performing loans. That's what we've written off.
And so taking
same amount.
Exactly, taking bonds to be able to deal with it when government itself is handicapped with 1.2 billion Ghana cedis. And what the men's good guys did, Randy, was to operate without anybody having the mandate to deal with it. Bank of Ghana has no mandate over you. Minerals Commission has no mandate over you. And so who has mandate over?
But we allowed it.
And we allowed
because eventually SEC has said that we have the mandate. They've pointed to the relevant law.
It doesn't make sense, man.
And they are taking action.
Men's Gold, by their own communications, are cooperating with SEC in that direction. The only thing is that SEC makes the point that they've still not provided them the documents that they asked for.
Then close shop down.
The documents that they asked for, they've still not provided them that.
Then close it down for now. And if they don't like it, they go to court. So the matter is judicially dealt with.
The interesting is when you
forum.
close it down now, you are also looking at people who have invested at men's goods.
What are the people gaining?
They
from
should,
the
they
hint
should,
there, I can tell you from that in Randy, should give you a signal.
This is their own statement.
So what
so they are barred from taking new contracts, and yet they are standing on that to say that they cannot pay existing commitments. How can you make this argument?
That's what they've told you.
They said that SEC says they hadn't stopped Men's Gold Ghana from paying matured extra values. That's those that are due.
Yeah, those that are due
so
to customers, and that the directive was to desist from establishing new contracts. But it goes on to say any act, order, or instruction, therefore, designed or decreed to forbid Men's Gold from trading makes it impossible to generate any revenue whatsoever, out of which extra values are charged and paid to those entitled.
They've prepared their grounds. Psychologically, They are preparing people's mind. That is not our fault.
I guess a lot of people, and this is just education and information for all of us, our audience and everybody else, people keep saying Ponzi, Ponzi. What's a Ponzi scheme? We'll just show you something little, and it's just to help all of us understand what that is, so that in our present and in our future, we'll be able to understand the issue better. Now, I'll show you what is called the Ponzi pyramid and how it starts. You see that on your screen shortly. And for a lot of you, Ponzi is actually named after Charles Ponzi. He operated in the US in the 1920s. Yes, that's the guy's name, Charles Ponzi. And he entices new investors by offering returns other investments cannot guarantee, in the form of short-term returns, either abnormally high or unusually consistent. So that's really what Charles Ponzi was doing in the US. And a Ponzi scheme is known as a fraudulent investment operation that promises high rates at little risk to investors. And the scheme generates returns for older investors from their own money or money paid by subsequent investors rather than any actual profit earned. The perpetuation of the returns that a Ponzi scheme advertises and pays requires an ever-increasing flow of money from investors to keep the scheme going. So the system is destined to collapse because the earnings, if any, are less than the payment to investors. So it can go. There are some that have stretched for 14 years, for 15 years before they go bust.
That's right.
And 2 weeks ago, I was asking our audience to try and watch the movie Wizard of Lies. Wizard of Lies. It will tell you the whole Madoff situation and all that. So what you see there, the Ponzi pyramid, this is how it starts. So it starts with one person. In the first month, let's say he gets 1,000 cedis each from the first 2 investments. The schema is the one at the top, the one who starts it. So these are the first round of investors, the 2. Then it moves from there, it has 4. So they use their money to sort out this. Then it moves from there to those you see in the third line. The monies are used to sort out the others. Then it moves. So the clientele base must always be increasing. So the new money is always used to sort out those ones.
That's right.
So at any point in time that new customers stop or you are unable to attract new customers, then it goes bust. You understand me? And I don't know if I should relate that to me being told that to the extent that I can't do new business, I cannot deal with old clients. I cannot pay old clients. But this is what you see, the pyramid. That's how it works. So for it to be sustainable, there always has to be new clients. New clients. And it's the new clients' money which is used to service the old people because there is actually no investment going on. That's how a Ponzi operates.
So the pyramid
and
now
we are saying we are
confirms or explains your
applying the law to stop such a thing before it becomes.
Well, they'll tell you there's due process.
Yeah, but that's the law.
Yeah,
that's
so,
what I mean.
So they're going through due process.
I mean the law.
Yeah.
And with this,
I wasn't asking for police action.
With this pyramid, it explains why they are saying that they are unable.
That's your understanding.
I mean,
all I'm doing is just to show. All I'm doing is to show how a Ponzi operates.
Exactly.
I'm not saying they're operating a Ponzi. I'm just showing how a Ponzi operates.
I get you right, but to the extent that they are saying that if they are unable to expand their base, if they are unable to continue with new clients, they cannot pay existing commitments. This graph clearly explains that.
I would tell people to watch this thing.
Very important.
It's secure.
We'll be back after this break. Right, welcome back to the show. If you just joined us, this is Good Morning Ghana live on Metro TV. And still with me on the show, I have the Honorable Member of Parliament for Mion, Abdul Aziz Mohammed, and Abdul Malik Kweku Bako. Well, let's come back to issues of the media. And I'm sure that once we are away, one of the issues was also about this issue of the DTT. And it's still a fresh matter. And I read on social media that yesterday I passed a comment or so about it. But on page 4 of the Ghanaian Times, abrogate Star Times China deal, Giba to Ministry of Communications. And Kingsley Asari reports that the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association has urged the Ministry of Communications to abrogate the deal it has signed with Star Times China to develop the digital terrestrial television platform. According to Giba, the contract would subject the country's broadcast space to foreign control, a situation which would affect the sovereignty of the country. An executive council member of Giba, Prince Harry Crystal, who made a call at a forum in Accra yesterday, said the contract did not inure to the benefit of the country. The forum, organized by Imani Africa, was on the theme Unpacking Ghana's Dance with China's Media Dragons, the curious case of Star Times. Are Ghanaian media owners and practitioners afraid of Chinese competition, or Ghana is simply unclear about the Chinese state-led media strategy in Africa? Mr. Crystal explained that the Ministry of Communications deal with Star Times, which involved the 300 satellite TV project launched at Dansoa and Accra yesterday, will roll back the efforts made to move the country from an analog to digital television broadcasting, saying so far 42 DTT sites had been constructed across the country to enhance digital broadcasting. The Giba Executive Council member intimated that the Star Times DTT enhanced contract was a betrayal of the recommendations made by the National Committee on Digital Broadcasting Migration Technical Committee in 2007. The committee, he said, concluded that Ghana's transition from analog to digital broadcasting will be rolled out with a setup of DTT platform instead of using satellite transmission as direct-to-home DTH service. The DTT broadcast was chosen after several deliberations, consultations, and considerations as a more reliable and dependable mode of broadcasting, that the nation would have full control over its operation and broadcast platform. The president of Giba, Andrew Danso Enimkra, said Ghana was not safe since it did not have control over or knew what went into the construction of the DTT platform by Star Times China, adding that in an era of data espionage, it was dangerous to leave the country's broadcast space to foreign control. Mr. Danso Enimkra hinted that Giba was considering a court action if the concerns such as local content were not addressed by the Ministry of Communications. He expressed a hope that the meeting between Ministry of Communications and Giba will yield fruitful results, stressing that Giba was happy that its concerns on the Ministry of Communications award of the DTT platform contract to Star Times China had occupied the media space for the past 1 week. The executive director of the Media Foundation for West Africa, Suleiman Abrahima, said government should be concerned about local content and should help the local media to survive, and pointed out that some media personnel had lost their jobs and some media houses had even cancelled their live programs. MP for Ningo Prampram, Sam N. George, said it was regrettable that the Ministry of Communications had re-awarded the DTT platform contract to Star Times China, which lost a court case it initiated, challenging the government's abrogation of the contract. He expressed concern about a $3 million tax waiver to Star Times when nothing was offered to KNET, which executed a DTT platform contract. And the founding president and chief executive officer of Imani Africa, Mr. Franklin Kujo, commended the speakers for succinctly dilating on the saga, and also said the Ministry of Communications had responded to the 23 questions raised by Imani Africa on the Star Times enhanced contract. Aziz, what's been your reading of this so far?
The issue of Star Times and the digital terrestrial television has been with us for some time now. You remember the Star Times was contracted, I think somewhere between around 2010, 2011, to migrate us onto a digital platform in compliance with some protocols that we had signed at the ITU, International Telecommunications Union. Later, the contract was abrogated. I understand they went to court and lost the court case, and the same contract re-awarded to KNET. What I don't know for now is whether that contract is still valid or not. I think that we should go the full haul of migrating onto a digital platform in compliance with the protocols that we signed at ITU. For us to now be dealing with start times in respect of just 300 communities is a thought approach that I don't think is the best. And the Ministry of Communications and the National Communications Authority must engage all stakeholders. We must cut out the excessive partisanship. At least, Giba is not a political party. Their interest is to ensure local content and also to ensure that China does not take over the media space in this country. That is very, very important. I think they are raising very, very valid points. I've heard other arguments in respect of how it was sourced in terms of the 300 communities and the tax waivers extended to start times and seem not extended to KNET, a local company. I'm gradually getting worried about the tax waivers, import duties and levies that we waiver, especially to foreign contractors. It is getting too much for us as a country, especially at a time that we have some challenges with revenue. And so I think that the Ministry of Communications through the NCA must engage all the stakeholders and to assuage them of the fears that they have in respect of that project. It is the suspicion of industry players that they are only using this project to be able to give the contract back to Start Times to go ahead with the digital terrestrial transmission. And I think that the Ministry of Communications must come clear. They must engage all stakeholders on this project, and let's see what happens. One issue that has emerged, I think some 2 days ago, has to do with the foundation of the First Lady receiving support from Start Times. I think it's a legitimate concern that people have raised, especially at a time that Start Times is in the media for some of these issues. Getting a contract from government and making donations to our First Lady, it raises some questions that I think that government need to speak to in a very candid manner. That's what I think the ministry should be doing for now, Randy.
All right. Yeah.
Interesting point. The last bit.
It's
yes. A red herring.
What I read you say was that Giba was acting on suspicion.
Not just Giba. Okay. Many of the players involved in this, the things I hear, read, quite a lot of them driven by suspicions, speculations.
Without basis?
Many of them.
Okay.
Many of them. Look, Randy, there's absolutely nothing wrong with people raising, notes of caution when government is engaged in some business with a foreign entity or even with a local entity. There's absolutely nothing wrong with people raising issues. And if the issues are raised in a manner that you can realize that, look, people are seeking information or seeking to help improve on a particular concept or project, absolutely nothing wrong with that. After this, a democracy. And our democracy has become so virile that you can't stop anybody from talking. Yes, they can even talk nonsense if they want to talk nonsense. But your nonsense must be exposed as nonsense. See, what is it that we are talking about? I really don't get it. But let me first say that I'm sure you didn't mean the point about the First Lady and Start Times donation. You didn't mean it. It's a red herring. We should throw it away somewhere.
But I think it's a legitimate issue. At a very time that they are engaged in some deals with Ghana, I think the timing is bad and raises questions. Legitimate question, I think.
It's not. It's a red herring, and it's better we ignore it, unless you have evidence to the effect that the First Lady, in receiving those donations,
the evidence could be circumstantial and not material.
You are confusing me. Circumstantial and not material, or both, mean nothing. They mean nothing unless you can provide evidence to show that that donation influenced the First Lady or anybody in government to actually give any contract to Start Times. If we can't do that, why do? That's what I mean by the speculation. It's an example of the speculation I'm talking about. Classical example, another one. It was put out there that Start Times, the confusion between the two projects. And I think even in reading, I got a hint about the
300 village project.
Yes, and the 300. People people linked the two. And they were articulating it as if it was factual. I didn't know much. I heard the noise, and I said, look, let me study. Last week, news file, when I watched it, that linkage was demystified.
There are two projects.
And the Juba representative was there. He didn't appear to know. Earlier on, they had articulated the position that brought the linkage. Don't do that. That's a serious organization. And so you must be sure of what you are saying before you go out there and put it there. And Randy, if you couldn't do the disconnection, if you couldn't, you kept the linkage and articulated it forcefully as if it was true, as part of canvassing your position, I don't take you serious when it turns out you didn't know that simple, basic thing. The two projects are different. Now, I hear now people saying that, oh, that will give the Chinese the opportunity to perhaps take over our media thing, or even that's cultural imperialism of a sort. Yeah. I agree. We should always be vigilant. We should be very careful what we do and how we do it. If somebody was to say that, I will back the cultural imperialism from China. We're already living with a lot of cultural imperialism from the West on our screens.
But we don't need to continue in that tangent.
No, but I'm not saying it is true.
Local content.
Yeah, but that's the point I'm making. The point I am making, that the mere fact, the 300 thing, do you know it's an African project?
From China.
Involving 25 or 30 African countries.
From China.
It was done, yes, from China.
Yes.
African governments, African heads of states endorsed it, including our own. December 15 or 16? It should be 2015, December. We were sitting there with our eyes wide open when China decided to make this pledge. The pledge on its own is not a problem at all. So when they are coming in, after all, there will be contractual arrangements. We have, in fact, I'm not sure we've even done our broadcasting law, have we?
No.
We haven't done that. Yes, but there are things we have to do here to ensure that Chinese cultural imperialism will not have an effect. But you don't just give up. And the argument being made is not sustainable. Randy, again, there was the other confusion that the Chinese, the StarTimes, will be managing and owning the DTT infrastructure. They put that out there too. And they articulated it forcefully to the extent that I thought that was the case. Okay? It turned out that was false. And that's a key area again. If you are making a case, you have embarked on a crusade, and these basics, these simple elementary factors, you didn't know, and you pushed it until they were exposed. Now you revise your position. No, I don't take you serious. Honestly, because I expect that right from day one, these basics you must be aware of. You don't throw out something nobody knows, so you are confusing everybody, playing on the keyboards of people's emotions, playing the nationalistic factor. No, I don't get it. So something has happened in Zambia. The Chinese took over, so what?
We must be guided.
Thank you. But it doesn't mean we must not go there.
We must ask the questions.
No,
and answers must be provided.
I think you are not getting my point. You're not getting my drift.
I am.
You see, something happens in Zambia.
Yes.
You tell us, yes, we can take lessons from it. But that does not mean you shouldn't go there. You shouldn't go for the project. But there are people who are saying that because something happened in China, this shows that the Chinese are bad people. The Chinese will do something and take over your assets. What it means is that don't go there. But I'm saying that's wrong. If the Zambians couldn't handle their situation that well, it doesn't mean Ghanaians cannot handle theirs. You learn from the experience. In fact, it might even make us better, because after learning from their experience, we'll be well positioned to do things that they not do things that they did wrong. So I don't get the argument.
The distinction between the 300 villages project,
yes,
is different from the digital terrestrial transmission. That one is the basis. We all know this.
We know. Now we all know. Now we all know.
I'm not sure my initial a submission suggested that.
No, but I was not referring to you.
I get you right. Please. I get you right. But you see, the other question is, are we not using this 300 project as a conduit to be able to hand over the digital terrestrial transmission to Star Times?
Suspicion.
That's legitimate. Legitimate. Yesterday, I was with a government communicator, and what he said was that Star Times is coming to continue from where KNet stopped. And
I haven't addressed those issues, but
KNet was coming. Star Times was coming to continue from where KNet stopped. What prevents us from going the full haul in respect of protocols that we had signed at ITU? I mean, when people ask some of these legitimate questions, it is only proper and fair that answers are provided and not to just sweep them under the carpet. In fact, Giba is much worried about the content, the local content. Today, you turn on your television and all that you watch some Mexican episodes. It is worrying. They are worried about local content.
It is not the Mexicans I will blame.
You just talked about
us. I'm talking that what is it that you are doing?
You just talked about broadcasting law. We don't have one, and so it gives the media houses the luxury to put out everything that they want to do, and we must be worried about.
So where should the emphasis be? The emphasis, there's been an advocacy for a long time relative to broadcasting law. If it doesn't happen, who do you blame?
I think for now our attention is on RTI. We are not bothered about. And that's worrying. That is worrying. I mean. We must be interested with content.
Yes, but it doesn't mean that
within
until
the media space.
My brother, I think you are not getting my drift. But suspicion, you just put one here.
Especially when our media houses are struggling to survive.
Speculation, conjecture.
Oh, but that is true. This is not speculation.
That is true. They are struggling to survive.
They are laying off their workers.
Because the Chinese are coming.
So if you are bringing in about
because the Chinese are here,
more stations.
Is that what we are saying?
We are going to spread it thinly, and that would affect the businesses of the private investors within the media space.
I'm going to do a diversion.
Okay.
Because it's not the issue, really.
Okay.
But some of this talk about media houses suffering. I'm not denying that. But sometimes, have we also looked within the management practices, the ethical conduct and things of some of the corporate governance of some of these media houses? Have we? Their size. For instance, my paper, if we come to the print, and we've advocated this for a long time, you have too many small newspapers all over the place. Everybody wants to be an editor-in-chief in his own corner. We forget that consolidation may help some of these newspapers, including mine. Okay? Same come to the electronic media, which is now on the ascendancy. They've virtually relegated the print media to some background. But for the fact that the electronic media uses our papers for such things, some of these papers, you will not hear about them.
Oh, yeah.
But some of these electronic stations, TV and radio, how well are they doing by themselves, by their own setup? By themselves, how are they thinking? Are they also thinking of consolidating? Everybody wants to remain on his own.
When we are inviting more foreign media houses and we don't see anything wrong with it,
we are not an island.
We are asking for consolidation. No, I'm not asking that we shouldn't engage.
Yes.
That's not what I'm advocating for.
I cannot preach isolationism.
That's not what I'm advocating for. We must engage cautiously.
Yeah, but don't do scaremongering.
This is scaremongering. These are legitimate questions that need answers.
Don't push xenophobic things out there.
Oh.
Not you, please.
Being protective of our cultural values.
Let me be very careful.
And the local content.
When I say you, I'm not really talking about you, the person sitting here, so that it doesn't look as if we are having a direct engagement. But I'm saying, for instance, you raised the KNet thing.
Yes.
Look, KNet is a Ghanaian company. I use their services, and they are good.
Internet service.
They are damn good. And indeed, I'm told the work they did relative to the 40 of the infrastructure, 40%, is it 40% or 40? Was fantastic. But I hear people say, necessarily, government should continue the second phase that they say they want to put 60 up with KNet. Where is the law for that? That's an idea you are suggesting. Government is not obliged to take it. Unless somebody gives me evidence that KNet business is being directly sabotaged by government, and I will oppose that. But if government gave KNET a contract to do a particular job, and KNET has executed it, not the only Ghanaian company anyway, but has executed it, necessarily government must give the second phase.
So is it not possible for the Minister for Communications to come to Parliament and brief Parliament and assure Parliament, and for that matter, the public, that government is not using this 300 communities project as a conduit just to transfer the GTT project to StarTimes?
Okay.
I mean, what prevents the minister from doing that?
What prevents you, the member of Parliament, from filing an urgent question to invite the minister to come and do what you are suggesting, which I support?
That the caucus has contemplated.
Thank you. So we are now making progress.
contemplated.
We have an institution like Parliament that has an oversight responsibility over the executive. Trigger your responsibility and get the minister there to come and do those things. But
I'm surprised that issues of local content and promotion of local enterprises don't seem to attract your heart this morning.
I was one of the advocates for local content.
Yes, and
I've been so for a long time.
When Giba raises those questions, I can only imagine that they will receive your absolute support.
Yeah, but not with suspicions and speculation.
Right.
And you've just done
when you don't provide information, you give room for speculation.
I came back home. All this noise was going on. I decided to seek information, and I got it. But I'm saying that you raised a very fundamental point here. The highest level where the minister will be obliged or compelled to bring evidence, Parliament. Do that. And get the minister to come and explain all these things on that kind of serious platform. But I still disagree. See, there's a government policy, and it didn't start with this government, to promote local content, especially if you go into our oil and gas industry.
I think that is project specific. It is in respect of the oil and gas industry. We don't have a holistic document that talks about...
Support, say, it may not be written, but look, government support for local industries, distressed industries that are Ghanaian, or its local content. And I'm not talking about a local content policy that was drafted to guide the petroleum industry. That's not what I was referring to. I was looking at local content from the point of view of supporting Ghanaian businesses or supporting Ghanaian businesses.
So when Giba...
Is there any No, I have no problem. Look, I can understand Giba. It's self-serving. But Giba, I'm asking them also to look within. Even sometimes the equipment being used, are they real equipment today, modern equipment that can make your transmission
investments
effective?
That requires money.
Yes.
And when they feel threatened with their finances,
Randy,
you should.
My brother is engaging me, and Randy too is quite listening to us.
Yes.
See, he said that 300.
I'm looking for some information for you. So
because that would be useful. The point really I want to clarify.
Yes.
I support government giving its commitment to local industry in all fields as a matter of principle. But that does not mean that government cannot engage foreign entities too. They are not mutually exclusive. It's where you strike the balance.
Yeah, that's true.
And how you go about it.
That's true.
So I make the point that KNET, and this is just an example, has executed a project. Government and everybody agrees they did it fantastically. I'm saying that does not give them the automatic right to do the next phase. It doesn't. There's no such law.
I'm not sure that's what Parliament or
I've
Giba,
heard people say so. You see, you think I'm arguing with you directly. I am not. But I'm hearing people talk. Some were articulated on Newsfile. Some elsewhere. Some have been written.
I know where you're coming from.
Some have been written. They have written. I've read them. You may not have said so here. So fine. But I've heard them. I've read them too. And that argument is out there. And the argument is made to the effect that because the second phase is being given to StarTimes to do, which they will not manage or control, so it means there's an attack on the local industry. Then the 300 communities, the 300 communities, the second phase, that's what government intends to do.
It's going to StarTimes. So beyond the 300 villages project, The remaining portion of
I'm talking of the second phase, the expansion
of the DTT.
Yes,
is going to start times.
Yes, that's what
I just wanted you to confirm that.
No, see, I'm not confirming that there's a contract. I haven't seen it, but there's a declaration of intent to engage. Oh, but it's true.
There's
a declaration. Don't we hear the minister say so?
Giba and all those who raise the concerns are not being speculative.
My goodness, why are you confusing me?
Giba
was talking as if there was a contract. Indeed, NDC people too have heard.
But government intends to
government says
do a contract.
An MOU. They intend. That's why I said
there's
intention.
Of course,
but that's public knowledge. That's public knowledge.
If someone has done a job of 40% that you think it was fantastic.
It's not 40%, like 40 of the...
Fantastic. And the word you use is fantastic.
Absolutely.
A local company.
Absolutely.
You know, what would prevent you from proceeding with that person even though there's no law that says that he must necessarily continue?
Why should compel me to do so?
No, I've just asked
but I've told you that there's no compelling reason to continue that expansion with the same company. If the government decides...
The compelling reason is admission that he has done a fantastic job. There may not be a law saying that continue with him, which I agree to.
But you see,
in the spirit of local content and promoting local businesses, what is the interest?
Government exercises its discretion. The discretion, of course, must not be capricious. Show me.
So you now see the link.
And I don't hear KNET talking. I hear people who have made themselves spokespersons for KNET talking.
But some have virtually become spokespersons for StarTimes too. But you see, if government intends to do a contract with StarTimes to continue with the digital terrestrial transmission, and that same StarTimes goes to do a donation to the foundation owned by the First Lady,
you know what? You are forcing me to give you some examples,
and we don't see anything wrong with it. That is wonderful.
I don't want to give examples that will dilute and pollute our discussion. Otherwise, I can give you hundreds of examples, and none of those examples made sense then.
But I thought as a country we are moving forward,
gentlemen,
and to use past events to justify
that language. Now, Randy, let me
justify
this thing about using past events to justify. I'm one of those who reject it.
Okay.
You talk about your past achievements in order to get your future victory. The past is relevant.
But do you agree?
I'm saying that concept, that theory is bogus.
But do you agree? But
it's a cowardly response.
It is not.
Things.
You don't do the wrong thing today.
Highlight your past
and want to stand on the past.
I'm saying you always highlight your past achievements in order to make future progress. You do. Because the past is not irrelevant. It's not immaterial.
The government intends to sign a contract with StarTimes.
Let's come back to this issue.
And StarTimes is making donations to the First Lady.
Let's come back.
There's nothing wrong with it.
Let's come back to this issue of men's gold. Because I have something sent to me by one of the people who work there. His name is Ni Ama Amatefu of Xylophone FM. And I'll read what he says in full. From Niama Amatefu. He says with Xylophone FM. He says, good morning. Once again, you are totally wrong on the men's gold issues. I've observed you since the men's gold stroke Bank of Ghana stroke SEC issues came up. You have shown obvious bias in dealing with the issues. Now let me deal with the issue you just raised this morning. The letter that SEC issued to us on 7 September 2018 was clear on their directive. They said, and I quote, accordingly, the SEC hereby directs men's gold to shut down immediately the business of trading gold collectibles with guaranteed returns to clients, which constitutes in essence dealing in securities with neither the necessary license nor disclosure authorization by SEC. They added, no new contracts should be created, and all advertising of the investment business halted with immediate effect. Per this directive, we issued a communique to that effect on 13 September to temporarily halt the gold vault market or trading, pending clarity and further discussion with SEC. As a law-abiding entity, when a government agency gives you directives to halt your trading, you comply and seek clarification or redress, and that is exactly what we did. After consultation, we were made to undertake to halt all trading in relation to gold vault market. The interview granted by the SEC boss on Joy TV, saying SEC has not directed us to stop dealing with existing customers, and therefore we can pay, came to us as a surprise. Why? 1. We closed the gold vault market on the 13th per their letter to us on the 7th. So as you can see, although the letter came in on the 7th, we were paying and trading until the 13th. And we were made to understand that we must halt all immediately. And we complied. And since the 13th, SEC is in the know that we have halted our operations regarding the gold vault market. Now ask yourself, why didn't SEC say they haven't asked us not to pay existing clients as per their directive since the 13th until yesterday when they granted the interview on Joy TV? Mind you, after the halt, we've been having meetings upon meetings with SEC. They never said anything. 2, our response to SEC, which you are trying very hard to analyze and to question the viability of the company, is quite unfortunate. Claiming that we are the only people who understand what we do is also unfortunate. Okay, but that's your right of opinion. I respect that. What are we saying to SEC in our response? We are saying, since we halted the gold vault market from the 13th, we haven't traded any transaction on the gold vault market. Therefore, it's extremely difficult to pay our customers who we have existing contracts with. The only way we make money or dividends is when we trade with the gold collectibles. We have not said anywhere that we can't pay our customers. In fact, our temporarily closure of the gold vault was supposed not to go beyond the 19th of September, only for us to extend to 28th because at the time we hadn't finished discussions with SEC. He says, come 28th, that's tomorrow, right?
Tomorrow.
We will resume as per what the SEC boss said, and we will pay our cherished customers. If SEC has told us we can go ahead and pay our existing customers long before yesterday, we would have settled this confusion. Says, please tell Kweku Baku, I will come with further and better particulars to explain the Men's Gold Bank of Ghana SEC issues to him. This is Ni Ama Tefio.
He's an officer of the company.
Yes.
So this is a rejoinder of a sort.
Yes.
Fine, fair deal.
Yes.
You're giving him the platform to do that.
Yes.
And I also expect that he brings the further and better particulars.
Okay.
I want to learn.
So based on what he said, I have gone back to that letter. Dated September 7, 2018. Chief Executive Officer, Men's Gold Ghana Limited, opposite Nogahi Hotel, Accra, attention and appearance and DSM, notice to suspend trading without license. The Securities and Exchange Commission is a statutory establishment which, under Section 3 of the Securities Industry Act 2016 Act 929, has entirely the mandate to maintain surveillance of activities in securities, to ensure orderly, fair, and equitable dealings in securities, and to register, license, authorize, or regulate market operations in accordance with Act 929. The SEC has keenly followed and investigated the operations of Men's Gold Ghana Limited, hereinafter referred to as Men's Gold, since 2017, including paying a working visit to the head office of the company on 23rd August 2018 by some officials of the SEC to further understand the operations of the company, where a meeting was held with Nanaya Ofe, Commercial Manager Reverend Derek Akubia, an advisor to the CEO. The interactions with Mr. Ofe and Reverend Derek Akubia confirmed to SEC the view that the aspect of Men's Gold's business, which involves the purchase or deposit of gold collectibles from the public and contracts issued with guaranteed returns with clients, is a capital market activity. Issuance of gold-backed depository notes to the public under Act 929 without a valid license issued by SEC, contrary to Section 109 of Act 929, with consequences under Section 2061 of the same Act. Subsequent to the visit by SEC officials, a request for specific detailed information was made, and Men's Gold has, through its lawyers, agreed to provide the necessary information requested by the SEC within 14 days. The provision of the information, however, does not make that aspect of Men's Gold's operations any less of an illegality under Act 929, as well as a threat to unsuspecting and uninformed investors. Accordingly, the SEC hereby directs Men's Gold Company Limited to shut down immediately the business of trading in gold collectibles with guaranteed returns to clients, which constitutes, in essence, dealing in securities with neither the necessary license nor disclosures authorized by the SEC. No new contracts should be created, and all advertising of the investment businesses halted with immediate effect. Failure to comply with this directive will lead to the SEC employing other relevant measures under the law to enforce compliance. This directive does not preclude you from continuing your other businesses of assaying, purchasing of gold from small-scale miners, and export of gold. Yours sincerely, Paul Abedu, Deputy Director General. So the point Niama makes is that the directive was for them to shut down immediately in the first instance, and then in the second instance not to do new business. And so their understanding was that they were not to engage in the trading of the collectibles at all.
Yeah, but
and also not to do new business.
Yeah, Randy, I thought I got that impression too.
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
They were actually asked not to do even the gold
Yes.
thing. Yeah. So if so,
SEC
then
hereby directs Men's Gold Company Limited to shut down immediately the business of trading in gold collectibles with guaranteed returns to clients, which constitutes, in essence, dealing in securities with neither the necessary license nor disclosures authorized by the SEC. No new contracts should be created, and all advertising of the investment business halted with immediate effect.
Yes. So does that not mean we were slightly unfair in our earlier discussion relative to what we highlighted?
This is the understanding. The SEC says that what they meant was that don't do new business, but
no, but the earlier,
yes.
if you read if you read them together,
it is fair to construe.
That's right.
Yes.
So maybe we were slightly unfair to them in our interpretation.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Today is 27th.
I will concede to that.
So let's see what happens from tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We're prepared to wait.
Sure. And tell the gentleman I want the documents.
Okay. Okay.
To add to the already.
He says that he will bring.
I don't really understand that area well, but I still don't feel comfortable with it. In any case, it also means that they were doing something without the appropriate
licensing.
Yeah.
Tomorrow is the 28th, right?
28th. Okay. So let's see what happens from tomorrow.
No biggie. We'll get there soon.
Sure.
Jimmy Alote says, good morning, sir. Educated guy idiot is back from his sabbatical in time to welcome Abdul Malik back. Nice shirt. Tell the cameraman we want to see the shoes. The government of the day. Can he give us,
same old shoes.
Can he give us the opinion of a school dropout on the NDC General Secretary race? Who should we bet on?
Oh, I was asked this question yesterday. I said both Asidu Nketia and Mr. Anyido are problematic, but I would. Oh yeah, both are problematic.
In what sense?
Political sense, I mean, political sense. In terms of communication, posturing, everything, they are both problematic.
We find them fantastic.
But I would, but that's opinions are like
no, everyone has one.
I would opt for Asidu Nketia. He's got more track record, more experience, more exposure, and I think he fits in there. If you ask me to make a choice, and that's what I'm being asked to. I don't belong to your party. I really don't care what happens eventually. But I say to Nketia, it's preferable to Mr. Anyido if I'm doing a balance sheet to assess them politically. That's all I'm saying.
If he's watching,
Robert Coleman.
I like both of them are friends.
Robert Coleman says, let me welcome back my uncle who is looking much healthier. But please tell him that 2 months leave is too much. We need his analysis to make informed decisions.
There's a marathon.
Fantastic delivery by him today.
It's a marathon. And I thank them too.
Yes.
Zoom Lion, maybe this on unfair disclosure, he might not. They've been spraying my house for me.
Okay.
With killing insects and things, and it's fantastic.
All right.
Without charging me.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Well, we're here. We hear you on that. I saw.
It doesn't mean I won't write anything against it.
Now, listen to this from Metokwani. He says, is it not surprising that as a nation we have had to pull out of a court proceeding that we were clearly winning to pave way to deal with StarTimes? We won against StarTimes at the courts up to the Supreme Court. We won the first round of a series of cases against StarTimes in London Commercial International Tribunal. They claimed $200 million against us. They were rejected at the hearings in London. Why has our communication minister so suddenly decided to withdraw from the arbitration in London? Why is the communication ministry hobnobbing with StarTimes on an exclusive basis? I thought single sourcing was a crime just yesterday.
Listen, wait. Oh, but you know my position on this single sourcing thing. I said it here many, many times, that if you make an absolute out of single sourcing and also create the impression it is illegal, you're talking nonsense. And the NPP, to some extent, large extent, did that. And here, Randy will be my witness. I consistently told them to stop that because the law allows single sourcing under some circumstances.
And some regime was bastardized for applying that same law.
I'm sure you are listening to me.
I'm just.
I'm sure you are listening.
I'm just adding to what you have
I'm being
said.
consistent on that. Before election and after election, that has been my stand. No, but I didn't get the drift well. That the StarTimes, Ghana won the arbitration. The first round.
Yes.
Oh, not the arbitration.
Yes.
First round of the arbitration.
And we pulled out.
No, but that's the point. Because, you see, I'm told they won. Ghana won the case
Yes,
here. I haven't seen. I've asked. In fact, I've asked for the court documents because I want to see exactly what went into court and what judgment was given. But arbitration, he says we won. That's what I heard.
Yes.
And now you say first round. You have clarified it. I wanted that clear.
No, it's from what I said is from his own
and arbitration ended.
He says that we won the first round of a series of cases against StarTimes in London Commercial International Arbitration.
Yes.
They claimed $200 million against us. They were rejected at the hearings in London.
Yes, but
So
the
that's what he
arbitration
says.
end.
This is exactly what he said.
I
We
need to
won
find-
the
wait.
first round of a series of cases against StarTimes in London Commercial International Tribunal. They claimed $200 million against us. They were rejected at the hearings in London.
I only need to read.
And we are going back to them.
No, I need. What's wrong with that?
Oh.
There's
Another
nothing wrong with that. Government
legitimate
policy.
question.
If government decides on
But
dealing
is
with,
it not-
there's nothing
Somebody
wrong.
from Giba also sends me this, that Giba wrote to the Ministry of Communication seeking information on the entire project. And for 5 months, the ministry did not reply.
We can blame the ministry
Giba
for.
repeated the request and still no response before the issue started hitting the media.
So when you create a
But
vacuum,
yeah, okay, I will concede if the ministry didn't give information sufficiently.
So now I
and
have the
timely,
ICC thing.
they
I'll
were
send
wrong.
it to you.
Okay.
The
Yes,
ICC.
that's good.
So
You can blame the
it's tied to
ministry,
partial
but that was
award.
not an opportunity for you to peddle suspicions
but
and
when you create a
speculations.
vacuum, you are only creating a platform for people to speculate. And that one, the ministry can really blame itself. But Randy, you've just also talked about the engagement with StarTimes being government is adapting sole sourcing, and we don't see anything wrong with the StarTimes.
No, but there's no contract yet. Is there a contract?
But the text just talked about sole sourcing. I don't know.
I know there's an
in what
MOU.
respect.
Look, no contract can be signed without reference to law.
So when we're applying sole sourcing to enter into a contract, and that same firm
Sole
that we are
sourcing,
contracting, that same firm we are contracting goes to do a donation to the First Lady, and we don't see anything wrong
I'm
with
back
it.
there again, red herring.
It's not red herring. It's a legitimate question.
I'm so
surprised that
constrained.
you
You
are
know,
not seeing.
I'm finding it so difficult.
I'm so
I wanted
surprised
to
that you don't
give you-
see anything wrong with it this morning.
No,
that
because
we're engaging StarTimes through sole sourcing. You alluded to some MOU to that effect. And we don't
You
see
are tempting
anything wrong
me,
with them
Pa.
making
Master,
a donation
you are
to
tempting
the
me.
foundation owned by the First Lady
You are
around the same
tempting
time.
me so much.
Ojam, it's a
Because, you see,
39-page.
You are tempting me. And it's not fair. The examples I want to give here, it won't be fair. Because I never believed in those things. But and at the time, some of people were making that.
And I'm sure you questioned them. You questioned them.
Oh,
You questioned those. You questioned them around
Master,
that time.
I'm not sure you've been tracking me. If I gave you